that's a small one. Yeah, and we're not in Scotland.
No.
We're here in Germany. These became popular lately. Pretty
so
nice.
He would fit
Yeah,
in
look.
our car.
Yeah.
You
Maybe
know,
we should take him.
Yeah.
We should just go ahead and load him up. Yeah.
There comes trouble.
Okay. Nice one. Hey guys, Christian and Vera here, driving around with our Discovery 3. And we want to show you something today what is hopefully useful for you. We want to show you how you can make it visible how much off-road time your Discovery 3 experienced already. This might be in particular interesting if you want to buy a Discovery 3 or an LR3, because the current owner may claim that he never ever left the pavement with his Discovery 3, and in reality it might be completely different. And we're going to walk you through on how to make that visible. Hopefully that's good information and helpful. So stay with us. So you may think that we're gonna walk around the outside now and check whatever suspension clearances and things which we banged up and so on to see if there's any off-road usage been done with this car. No, I got a completely different approach. I hope this is new to you. What we will be doing is using an OBDII diagnostics tool to make visible how much time the Discovery experienced in each of the operating modes you see here. And there's actually a way to make visible how much time the car actually spent in each mode and how many kilometers it drove in each mode. And again, I just tested this together with Vera. I made her drive a couple of kilometers in one or two of these modes to make sure I'm interpreting the OBDII data correctly. And I also had her driving around in the small transmission to make sure the OBDII also counted that time and distance, and it did. And I can now walk you through where the parameters are and how to interpret them. Okay, and we're gonna have to look for a parking spot, and we're gonna play with the OBDII diagnostics tool. Okay, we're gonna park right here at this scenic spot, and we're gonna go through our OBDII diagnostics tool. Now let the engine run, and what we got here is the iCarSoft diagnostics tool. This runs around 150 euros, and it's called the Multi-System Scanner i930, and that's good for Jaguar and Land Rover cars. And unfortunately mine only got a German menu, but I'm gonna walk you through and I'm gonna do the translation as good as I can. When you start the thing up, you start by selecting the brand here, Land Rover or Jaguar. So we select Jaguar, and then we select the S-Type Jaguar right here, and then we got the S-Type with the four-wheel drive right here, and then the diesel engine out of France. So, and then we select manual selection, otherwise the tool scans through all the codes and picks the active control modules. It takes forever. So I do manual selection, and then I get into a menu where I see all the control modules. And what we're interested in is the off-road control module. In German here Geländesteuermodul, so I would assume the English one says off-road control module or something like this. And when I go in there, I can select data streams, and I can also read the fault codes, but I select data streams, and when I do that, I have here parameters. The first one is time used in mode 1, and then time used in mode 2, and on the next screen mode 3, time used, mode 4, and mode 5, all time used. And then in the next mode I see distance, driven in mode 1, driven in mode 2, mode 3, mode 4, mode 5. So this tool allows me to select a couple of those all at once. So I'm gonna select here distance driven in mode 1, 2 and 3. When I hit escape, it gives me the data. And what I see now here in mode 1, it displays 120 kilometers, 210,120. Now the car has on the odometer
210,731.
so something more. And the difference between these two numbers is basically the distance driven in the other modes, mode 2, mode 3, mode 4 and mode 5. Now, really embarrassing. This car has driven it in its entire lifetime only 154 kilometers in mode 2. And this is what I tested before. Vera basically drove around a little bit here in this mode 2, and this number, the 154, increased. It was 150 when we left, and now it's 154. So mode 2 corresponds to this. Just like we know mode 1, so basically no mode, corresponds to this. So assuming this, we thought, okay, this got to be mode obviously 3, mode 4, mode 5. And what we did to verify this is we checked here, well, how much did this car drive in mode 5? Because this is rock crawling, and there ain't no rock crawling in Europe. And that's where I was a little bit surprised. I went here, selected the next window, went here, and here I displayed the distance driven in mode 5. And look at that, it says 446 kilometers. I mean, that's nothing for someone living in the States for rock crawling. But over here, this didn't make any sense. So what we tested was, what is if we put this thing into the small gear? So I had Vera drive around here on our roads in the small gear for 3 kilometers. And look at that, it actually did count this. It went from 443 to 446. So also counted as mode 5 is the small gear ratio. And this makes sense because from our road trip down to the Western Alps just recently, we know that the car absolutely drives miserable above 2,000 meters in the steep mountain passes. And it's much more convenient than to use the small transmission. So we added probably quite a few kilometers in mode 5. And what I also found really interesting is that mode 4, so this mode here, let me see what this is if I turn this on. What's the message?
Sand.
Sand. The message is sand, was never even on for 1 kilometer. I don't remember ever playing with the mode sand, and the car was certainly never at a beach.
Oh, it was in Denmark. I was there alone.
Yes, and I'm sure you used this mode,
No,
right?
but
You drove around whole day with this mode. Anyway, so it is kind of plausible that it never used the sand mode.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
And I did use the gravel and snow mode quite a lot in the winter time because that's the first mode what locks the center diff. So that got some use out of it. So the numbers are kind of plausible, and I was going to put a kilometer into this mode to see if I get the 1 here. Haven't done that yet. What I also wanted to say is that these numbers don't count up while you drive. It doesn't do that. You actually have to stop, turn it off, turn the key back on, and then it will update the numbers. That's at least what we had to do. Again, very stressful for Vera. I gave her a lot of commands to do this. But it did work. It counted mode 5 as small transmission. It counted obviously mode 0, but it also counted only up after we started it again. And it did count the mode gravel here as mode 2. So now I show you those embarrassing numbers. We got 0 here, 446 in small transmission or rock crawling, and then the other numbers you already saw. So this car basically was only seeing road conditions, and I bet that's most cars in Germany are like this. Look at that, 154 on gravel and only 2 on whatever that is here. I think mud and roots and so on. So that's one thing. So this might be useful information when you buy a vehicle and the owner tells you, oh no, this car never ever left the pavement, and it never ever did any trailer pulling in the small transmission. Oh no. So you can take one of those scanners with you, and while you test drive the vehicle, you can go in and check this. And what's also very interesting, if you display the time used in these modes. So if I go back here and I go time used in mode 1 and I select all of those and escape, you can see here that this car drove in its lifetime an amazing 38 weeks, 1 day, 8 hours, 46 minutes and 57 seconds in the regular driving mode. Quite amazing. Didn't know that. And now you can see also the time it spent in the other modes, and you can, by your own driving habits, you can figure out in what speed it was driving. If you would do a little bit of math, you could go and see what the time usage was in mode 5, which corresponds to the small gear, and figure out, was it driving 6 miles an hour or 6 kilometers an hour, or for example 45. That's a big difference, and that might be also very useful information when you buy this vehicle used, when you're looking for one. So I sure hope this is new information and you don't go like, oh, I already knew that. I did not know. I found this by playing with the OBDII tool, and I thought, what the hell is that? And the numbers didn't update, and we made this test where I tried this, and I'm amazed that this car was never in this mode here, mud and roots. No, we're not done yet. I want to show you something else. I mean, this is not quite enough content for a good YouTube video. What I also want to show you is the electric park brake,
Yes.
the EPB. Now, during our last vacation, believe it or not, this thing failed. It failed in the worst possible moment. And we actually do have it on video because the in-car dash cam was running. We have the noise the park brake module made when it failed, and you hear the buzzer going off. We're gonna put this we can show you this here, what it sounded like. Nein, da ist ja niemand hochgefahren. Parking brake fault. And then I investigated when we got back home. I investigated this, of course, and I found that in my diagnostics tool, if I look at the electric park brake module right here, let me see this. I can look at the data streams here, and I did not know that before, but if I scroll through this, I actually get the parameter count static park brake events and count dynamic park brake events. So if I display these on my park brake module here, hit escape. Sometimes I gotta do this twice. No, it works. It shows me that I got 11,754 parking brake cycles. Isn't that amazing? That's a lot. Now we know from other information on the internet, on the LR3, that this thing is rated for maximum 20,000. So it only got half the lifetime behind it, but it still failed, you know? And this works. Vera, go ahead, close the parking brake, and you will see this count go up. It's now 11,755. And now open it again and watch the motor current. The motor current goes up to 22 amps. Now close it one more time and it goes to 56. It counts it. Open it one more time. There you go. Now what I could not figure out is dynamic parking brake cycles, where I have 25. What we did is, while driving, that was particularly stressful. While she was driving, I pulled this, and you guys all know this is going into some sort of an emergency brake mode where the vehicle really tries to stop. I thought this is maybe counting it, but it didn't. It didn't count this up, so this is not the actuation of the parking brake while driving. Then we also tried by letting the vehicle roll a little bit, like with 2 or 3 kilometers. We just let it roll and we close the parking brake. Then the buzzer goes off, just like when you do it while driving, but it also didn't count it. So I can't tell you what the 25 is, but I find it very interesting that you can display this number, because if you want to buy now a vehicle, and I can tell you for sure, if this already has 10,000 on it, you will be confronted with a failing parking brake soon, between, depending also on the age of the car and how rotten it is underneath. But 20,000 is the absolute max, and mine failed with 11,000 in vacation. Now it's pretty obvious that anything you read out of the OBDII diagnostics tool, you can't really rely on 100%. But it gives you a better picture of a used car you intend to buy. Somehow the data in the OBDII need to be plausible, and it needs to match the condition of the vehicle, and it also needs to match what the previous owner tells you. So it may not be 100% reliable, and sometimes hard to interpret, but any data you see in there adds to the picture you get from the car you intend to buy. So it is advisable to make yourself familiar with this tool. If you intend to buy this vehicle, you will need the tool anyhow, so you may as well buy it before you actually go and look at the first vehicle, and again, go and play with it using the vehicle of a friend, and make yourself familiar with the diagnostics tool. There's a lot of information on there, very useful. I mean, just to name a few, it's the EGR valve function. You can see the electric auxiliary heater control module, if it's still working or if it has a fault. You can see if the car was operated with water in the diesel, and over how many kilometers and how many events. And you can see if there is an oxygen sensor problem and communication bus faults. You can see if there are faults with the climate control, down to the level of each of the motors and servos actuating. Going through this will take you, when you look at a used vehicle, for sure an hour to scan all of those and maybe make some notes, but it will be well spent time instead of figuring this out all later, next to playing with all the other electrics, of course. So I think the one I have here from iCarSoft, which has also reset ability, so you can reset the SRS control module faults, you can reset ABS faults, or also height control module faults. It's important that you use one with the reset function, and I think you're not going to get one of those cost neutral, like buying an OBDII scanner for your cell phone and then downloading some free software. This is not going to get you the same functionality. I think it's worthwhile spending money on something where you have the exact full fault codes for the LR3 Discovery 3, and you're gonna get a lot more use out of it. And almost on any repair I do, I use the scanner for one thing or the other, and they're very easy to use, and at least in my language, in German. The descriptors are really well, and I believe in English they are at least just as good, if not even better, because that's most likely the native language they were programmed in. So my recommendation, get one of those. So this is what we got today. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was useful, and see you guys soon. Thanks.